also known as no slack. Since I returned from the deployment, I've struggled with a numbing depression, and I've wondered what kind of father and husband I'd be if I couldn't shake this. General MacArthur once said that old soldiers don't die, they just fade away. And that's what I felt like a part of me was fading away. During the last New Year's fireworks celebration, I was home with my wife and daughter, and before the fireworks were through, I was on the ground weeping. I wasn't shaken by the explosions, but with an overwhelming sadness. I started thinking about the guys I served with in No Slack, and wondered if they were experiencing any of the same things. I wanted to understand what was happening and what I could do to get better. My wife and daughter accompanied me to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. There I planned to spend a couple of weeks reconnecting with the soldiers I served with and their families. I hoped our dialogue would benefit them and provide some insight into my own issues. After not seeing most of them for 3 years, I figured I'd reintroduce myself in a familiar setting.
Oh my goodness. We got a whole collection of no slackers in a church. That's a miracle. This is not going to be a typical sermon. If you were expecting I was going to be guilt tripping you or anything like that, it's not going to be that today. This is more like a confession. When I showed up to No Slack, as many of y'all know, chaplains can't carry weapons. So I decided to carry a camera. I went out on the missions and I captured a lot of these moments that would change my life. But it wasn't the photos and it wasn't the video that changed my life. It was understanding the stories behind them. I captured people doing some courageous things, some valorous things. I was going through the deployment, asking the question, why? Why are they doing these things? What is driving these guys to risk their lives for others? And even after they've been wounded, why in the world would they come back to this hell? I just heard a whiz. Get my right, get my right.
We had our worst firefights since Vietnam, over and over again in Afghanistan.
In June, we had the bloodiest month since Tet of 1968.
We were doing a traffic control point in a village called La Choltan, and the job was to check all the local traffic coming back and through. And Andrew Looney was a team leader, designated marksman in my platoon. Looney came up to me and was like, "Do you see this?" And there was a single female by themselves in a bright colored burqa walking towards us. And we just kind of looked at each other, and I'm like, well, are we going to shoot her or not? Because we just knew that women aren't alone there, and, you know, no one really wears bright colors, so we called up, and they said we don't have PID.
Without a target being positively identified as a threat, the rules of engagement do not allow soldiers to open fire.
I took a knee looking over against a little wall, looking out, and she came up and detonated explosives on her person. It was a devastating explosion. I was probably 10 meters or less away from it. Everything faded to white and there was no sound, which could have been the explosion, but I was in this place where really nothing existed, and I felt like I was connected to God or whatever great spiritual thing, whatever's out there. So I came back into my body. There was blood all over me, and I didn't think it was mine because nothing hurt. So I tried to, roll over. I realized there was blood pouring down my face, and I didn't have my helmet on, so I was patting my head, and I realized there was a hole in my head, so I stuck a finger with Nomex gloves on through my skull and pulled it out and saw bits of my brain matter, and it's like, oh. So I wiped parts of my brain on my pants and got up to go run to work on my guy, and I took a step or two and fell. I realized my feet and my knee and my legs weren't okay. I got up again, maybe 2-3 times total, and someone's like, "Doc, stay the fuck down." So I did. I stayed down and just kind of laid on my back, protected from the wall, looking out with my M4, waiting